In this video, I want to talk about why a lot of companies that are dependent on leads, why they struggle in order to see a profit when it comes to their lead generation efforts, their marketing efforts, specifically on Meta or TikTok or Google, whatever it is. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So if you're dependent on leads, if you're a business focusing on generating consumer or even B2B type of leads, then I do believe this video is for you. And at the same time, I want to say, if you like marketing and business content, then I believe from the bottom of my heart that this channel is for you, because I've put my heart and soul into creating content like this for the last year. And people liking and subscribing is just an idea for me, or whether the content's actually valuable and whether I should keep doing it. So if you find any value in this, please consider liking and subscribing, just as a way for me to understand whether this is actually something worth doing or not, because I can do other things with my time. And I'm always wondering, am I spending my time on the right things? So your support will give me an indication of whether I should be doing this or not. And I appreciate that. Then for today's video, which is very simple, and that is the two biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to lead generation. It's very, very actually simple, and I've used this quote many, many times, and I've said that, I've spent a lot of time with millionaires, billionaires, more multi-millionaires, because being a millionaire today is not that hard. But the reality is, as a business now, we've worked with close to 500 to almost 600 businesses now in the last 7 years. Well, 6 years, this is our seventh. Is this our seventh? Maybe our eighth. We started in 2018, and this is now 2025, March, 3rd of March. And that said, we're moving in our 8th year now. Crazy. Mad. Getting back to the video, is we've seen all kinds of businesses, we've worked with all kinds of industries, and looking back, reflecting. I love reflecting. I like looking at data in hindsight and kind of like understanding and learning from it, because there's a lot of lessons in sitting in the past, but not a lot of people take the time to reflect on those lessons. And the one thing we've seen is, a lot of companies, why they struggle with their leads is for these two specific reasons. Okay, I won't hold you in any further suspense. We're going to dive straight into it. So the first thing is, they struggle not to necessarily generate leads, but they struggle to get a good lead cost. And when I say good, I don't mean cheap, okay? I don't mean cheap. When I say good, I mean an actual lead cost that is fair for the industry and the quality of the actual lead. Because a lot of people are going to say, hey, we can generate leads at half the cost, and maybe they can, but will it be quality? And you've probably had this in your life as well, especially if you're a lead generation focused business, is that your main priority is to make sure the leads come through are actually quality leads. That they're not just marketing qualified, but sales qualified. There's a difference between the two. Marketing qualified is people who might be in the market for what you're selling, but sales qualified is people who can actually buy, and you can sell to them what you actually have to offer at the price that you're offering it at. That is a sales qualified lead. A lot of people don't know that. So hopefully you learned something today. So can the cost actually match the quality of the lead that you need? And then at the same time, can the cost be affordable and favorable, efficient enough within the industry you find yourself in? Because if you're sitting there and you're in insurance and you want to run Google ads, and you're going to say, well, I need 10 Rand a lead for my CPL, which is cost per lead, for my insurance business, any agency with experience in the insurance industry are going to tell you that's not going to happen. That's a very small chance that you're going to pay that amount of money for a qualified lead. Because the average lead, and again, I'm just highlighting information that I've seen back as how we've worked as a business. I don't know what the actual number is right now. I don't have that information in front of me, but the last time I checked was probably between 250 on the low end to 800, maybe even 1,000 Rand. Maybe even 1,000 Rand as a lead on the high end. That's on Google Ads. So if you had to compete with Outsurance and all these other companies. And then the question is, well, can we run Facebook ad campaigns and lead form ads? Yeah, You can. And that's going to essentially help you drop the CPL from, let's say, 800 Rand now to 200 Rand, or maybe even 100 Rand. And you're going to say, look how amazing we are. The average industry lead is $800 and we've dropped it by 700. That's basically 80-90% less. And in theory, that's correct. But how many of those leads are actually qualified? And how many of these leads are actually going to convert into sales? And then you'll realize, well, only 1 out of 50 or 100 does, where Google might give you 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 10. So if 1 out of 100 does, then this 200 Rand lead times 100 becomes 30, is that correct? Damn. Becomes 20,000 Rand, because that's how math works. There's now 4 zeros after the 2. 20,000 Rand for a sale. Now the question is that going to be worth your time, energy at the end of the day? Is that going to be profitable? It's really what it boils down to. So the first issue is to find a good lead cost for the actual lead. And if you struggle to get a good lead cost, this is the result. You either pay way too much, which means you drain the budget very quickly. This marketing budget basically drains very quickly, which then results into low lead flow. So that's why people say we don't have enough leads, because maybe you are overpaying. Maybe you're overpaying for the kind of lead that you need. The other reason is if you do certain initiatives like lead form ads and all these other things, nothing wrong with lead form ads. Lead form ads can be great. We use it for a lot of clients. But let's say you run lead form ads, now the lead cost is way too low and the leads are just shitty quality. So now what you're finding is that your actual sales team is so busy chasing leads that are not qualified that they're not productive. So productivity of the sales team goes down. Everybody is getting frustrated, which means just low sales again. So in essence, we need to understand that you need to find 2 things in your lead cost, essentially. That lead cost should be efficient and effective and favorable within the industry that you find yourself in. And ideally, those leads need to be qualified. So that's the first thing that people struggle with. The reason they struggle with this, the main reason is because they don't know how to optimize their leads or their campaigns. And what I mean by this is that they don't know how to actually go into Meta and optimize the campaigns in order to improve lead quality. They don't know how to optimize the Google ads to ensure a lower CPL. They don't know those things, and that's cool. That's why you get agencies. That's why you hire marketing people, either it's internally or externally. That's why you have someone do that. That's the main job. And then the other thing is, what I've seen is people don't know when to run lead form ads, or when to build a funnel, or when to send traffic to a website. Because everybody says, rather do a funnel or a sales page. A sales page, do that. Don't do a website, but there's a certain time when you need to use a website. Like we drive most of our traffic now to our website because we've tested everything. And I'm not saying websites work better. I'm just saying what we've done works for us. So we do that. But then there's a lot of agencies that are going to tell you, well, we don't do that. We did build a funnel. Because we built a funnel. We started with a funnel. We made 6 million Rand in our first year with a funnel. That was in 2021. And then a sales page. When do you use that? People don't know. So they don't know how to optimize their campaigns, and they don't know how to actually create structure. The reason this structure is important is because this is what helps you qualify the lead. Just to tie that in, it's like there's a reason you run lead forms at a specific time. Like we do it, for example, a private school. We've tested everything. For that private school, based on the sales resources they have, based on the sales systems and automations and processes they have, based on the marketing budget that they have, that is the best thing for them to do. Including, obviously, the target market that they're going after. So those 4 things. Okay? Let me say that again, because all 4 of those things determine Whether you need to use a lead form, a website, a funnel, a sales, or just a landing page, whatever it is. Or VSL, that's another thing. I know someone's going to be like, you didn't mention VSLs. VSLs. I did. Okay, so those 4 things are sales resource. How many sales people do you have that can actually phone the leads immediately? That's the first thing. How many of them do you have? And how effective are they? How do you measure their efficacy? Do you have KPIs that they need to meet? And how do you measure those KPIs? And are those KPIs objective? Okay, so what does your sales resource look like? Because a lot of businesses, the business owner is the salesperson. And that's going to lead to a lot of trouble. Lead, no pun intended. But that's going to cause a lot of trouble. Because you're spending money, but you're not reactive enough to the leads. And because you don't have a lot of time, you get frustrated with the leads that are not good quality, and therefore you start to blame the agency. Like, the quality of the leads are crap. Meanwhile, that's just a numbers game based on how your business is set up. Because you don't have the sales processes and systems in place in order to qualify those leads. Or the agency on the other side didn't help you build the best marketing strategy based on the resources that you have. Okay, so sales resource, what do you actually have? Then the second thing is sales processes. Like, what CRM are you using? Do you do any automations? What does your follow-ups look like? I am writing so terribly, and that's why I'll never be successful. So, what do all those things look like? Because all of them are important, and all of that will determine whether you do lead form ads, funnel, website, etc. The third thing, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, is also budget. I think I did. Budget. What budget do you have available? Because sending people to a funnel or sending people to a website will most likely have a higher cost per lead, but the lead might be more qualified. So sending people to a lead form will have a very low cost per lead, but the lead will be less qualified. So what kind of budget do you have? Is it 10K? Or for example, is it 100K? And on top of that, how many leads do you actually need? The quantity of leads you need. The quantity, meaning like, obviously there's a quality process in place as well, but like, how many leads do you need on average in order to make a certain amount of sales? For example, we need 300 leads, hypothetically, in order to make 30 sales. That is a 10% conversion rate. So we know that if we can get a 300 leads at a certain price, then we can close at least 10% of them, and that's how we're going to make profit back on our marketing and to grow the business. So the budget, the need, and also then the demographic. So the question is, like, who are you targeting? How are these people using the internet, essentially, in order to decide what they want to buy? Because that will determine the whole strategy as a whole as well. So that brings me back to the first thing. They struggle to get a good lead cost. When I say good, means in correlation to a healthy CPL in the industry and to a healthy quality of lead based on the process, qualification process. So the second thing is they convert a very low percentage of leads into sales. So they have essentially a very low lead to sale ratio. This ratio is crucial. So we work with a private school, and the first thing we asked them, I think they were one of our first clients back in 2018. And I said, like, what is your lead to sale conversion ratio? And they literally said, Jandre, it's between 10 to 13%, depending on the time of the year. I was like, freaking awesome, thank you. And what times of the year? So in January to March, it will be quite high. It will be more like this. The rest of the year, it will be more like that. And then from October to November, it'll be more like that again. And then December, it'll be extremely low. I was like, good to know that. Thank you. I want to work with you guys because you know what you're doing. Now, a lot of businesses don't have these kind of metrics or numbers, and that's okay. And that's why you need someone with experience that can help you work this out. The lead to sales conversion process is very important because you can generate, for example, thousands of leads. But how are you converting them? And what are you measuring What are you objectively looking at when it comes to converting them? Because usually if this is low, if this is a low percentage, and a healthy percentage, again, it's dependent on all industries, but at least 10%. Like you need to be converting 10%. I think from my point of view, some industries are going to be much lower. You know, the higher the actual sales value of the lead, the more complicated the business, meaning the more corporate the business is. All of these things will depend, fuck's sakes. All of these things will essentially then determine the percentage, okay? So in banking, like if you had to go to Netbank and help them with their sales flow process, these numbers might look a little bit different because they're in a very completely different space. But I think if the average small to medium-sized business that's selling consumer-focused products or services, that's a healthy metric to have. Anything more than that is great and should be aimed for and is very possible. Anything less than that, I think you can ask yourself, hey, where can I improve? Because my system is not really as effective as I want it to be. So the system between leads and sales, there's something happening here. There's not 100% efficiency here. So we need to look into what's happening here. What is happening? And this is what we call a system, a sales conversion system. And what is a system? A system is essentially a bunch of parts that move together and work together to achieve a common goal. And that goal is sales. So there's a bunch of parts in the system. Let's make 5 of them. And all 5 of these parts, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they all work together as a system to create and achieve the goal, which is more sales. Okay. So if you have a very low lead to sales ratio, the question is, what lead system are you using? And a system could be anything from what we call an SOP, a system of procedure. It's like, what is the procedure if leads come through? If I ask a lot of small business owners what the procedure is, they'll be like, yo, my guy picks up the phone and then he calls them and maybe he calls them. I was like, oh, is this documented anyway? No, but everybody knows. Trust me. If you think everybody knows, almost nobody knows. It's just the reality of it. So you need some form of system of procedure where every single person, salesperson or conversion expert that joins the team knows exactly this is what happens. And that could be, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. And those steps can, for example, include step 1, within 30 minutes, call twice, not once, twice, because most people are not going to answer once. Do this 3 times a day, meaning morning, afternoon, and before people go to like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So midday, essentially. So morning, midday, late afternoon, WhatsApp, and email. So that would be step 1. Okay, I'm not going to do all 4 to 5 steps. This is going to become a 2-hour video. But the point is, you build systems that essentially ensure that everybody knows exactly how to convert that lead. Second thing is, a lot of those things become manual and tedious. So what automations can you put into place in order to increase efficiency? Efficiency. I can still spell, I think. So what automations can you put into place? Can the email be sent automatically? Can they be redirected to the right page afterwards that qualifies them further? Can they automatically get WhatsApps? Can they potentially be reminded to book a call? Whatever it is. And another thing could be, what AI systems are you putting in place, which forms part of automations in some way, but it's more got to do with like what information can be processed and be distributed to the right people in order to increase efficiency. That's really what we use AI for now. It's really just like, because that's what we've seen is the biggest issue when it comes to a sales process, is the information doesn't get processed or effectively processed. Therefore, we can use AI to process that information. That information doesn't get distributed accordingly in order to the right people at the right time. And that's why people is lost, because they need to take the action. People still want to buy from people. There's a lot of businesses that don't need, obviously, that. I understand. If you sell more online type products, info products, etc. But trust me, the higher the ticket item, the more people actually need to be involved. All right. So if we come back to the two reasons why people struggle with leads and their marketing online, it's because they struggle to find a good lead cost, and we've explained why. They struggle to convert a good percentage or a healthy percentage of leads into sales. I've explained why. And essentially, if you can do those two things, if you can start improving that, the actual profit of the service that you're selling will go up. It will just increase percentage-wise. So you'll put more profit back into the bank. And because you have more profit in the bank, you can use that to scale, aka self-fund growth. A lot of people borrow money from the bank or investors in order to fund growth. If you can fix this, you won't really need the bank's money to come into your bank. You don't need them. You'll have your own money in order to self-fund your own growth. But a lot of people don't make the profit. They don't make this because they pay too much for leads, or they have too many shitty leads come through the system, which then just drains the budget. And then they have low lead flow. And then because they have low lead flow, they close less deals. And therefore, the money that you've invested and the profit that you're making back is in a negative. And therefore, you run backwards. And that's why people feel their bank accounts are shrinking. But it's because you don't have the actual processes in place in order to make the service more profitable for yourself. And that becomes a business issue. Like, obviously, it's a mix between marketing and business. So essentially, if we look at the two reasons, which is lead cost, essentially, right? I say essentially a lot, and I'm sorry about that. I'm going to try and say that less. Lead cost. This is more a marketing thing. And then you've got lead conversion. And this is more a business issue. So both of them work together in order to make the profit. But a lot of people blame the agency when they have this issue in their business, and they don't want to actually step outside as a business owner to realize that this could be the problem. A lot of times this is fine, and then this is the issue. That's also possible. But again, all two of those things need to work together in order to maximize the amount of leads you get, how many leads you convert, and what profit you actually make back on the leads. I hope that video was valuable. If you, again, enjoy content like this, then please feel free to like and subscribe and give me an indication if I should be doing more of this or not. Thank you. Much love. Cheers.